Welcome to High Tea with Dirk and Rens, Barcelona special, part 2, actually. This is really episode 58 of the High Tea podcast, but we are recording from Barcelona, which is, I would say, the capital of cannabis this weekend of the world. And we are here with a very special guest indeed. Very happy to have him here. Lucas Strazzeri, I hope I pronounced it right.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks to receive me.
I think, if people know you, it must be by a book that you published a while ago with photos of Afghanistan called Afghanistan, Fortress of Cannabis.
That's it.
So we will definitely go into that book. There's a new version coming up.
Coming up shortly, yeah.
That's all very exciting to talk about, but we will, as we usually do at the HighTeaPotcast, take our time to dive deep into your relation with cannabis, what it means to you. You're traveling, because you travel to other countries as well, hash countries, apart from Afghanistan, of course. We have to thank the sponsors of this HighTeaPotcast Barcelona tour. Rens, take it away.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Or good night.
Or good night, or whenever you're listening to this. But this is a special tour, the Cannabis tour. And this tour is sponsored by our friends of Dutch Passion, Seed Stockers, Biotops, and Super Sativa Seed Club.
So shout out to these fine cannabis companies.
And we met Lucas 2 days ago in the Dank Grass Club. It was like a party of La Chanvrière and the Grateful Seeds. And since we know La Chanvrière a little bit because of the podcast and of the Cannabis Cup, and we slept there the weekend in his house, we saw a magnificent picture on the wall. Where La Chanvrière already talked a lot about it, and he was super happy with this kind of picture. And the surprise take us that you were also 2 days ago at the party from La Chanvrière in the Dankers, and we get into talk, and you were explaining what you were doing, and then I think it was a wonderful story for another episode of this tour. Let's dive deeper in your journey.
Sure.
And start maybe at Cannabis. Have you been here before? Are you like a regular?
Yes.
Or?
I think I've been there before in 2016, more as a party goer or just to enjoy the fair. I've been to Expo Grow before also. I also like to see the conferences. Sometimes there are very interesting conferences in this kind of fair. I know the place quite well.
You're from France?
I'm from France, yeah.
And it's quite notorious, you can say. I think maybe Sweden is worse, but then you guys have like the toughest laws and maybe the most conservative view of cannabis maybe in Europe. And also number one,
I agree with that. And
consumption.
That's the big difference. Is I think we consume a lot, and we still have the strictest law in Europe about cannabis. And it doesn't seem to change, or at least very, very slowly.
So take us back. When was the first time you sort of came into contact with cannabis, or what aroused your curiosity?
High school time. In France we get a lot of hash, so that's how I started with hash. Basically, until I get maybe out of high school. University, we started to get weed, and 18, I moved out of my parents' house, started to grow.
Indoor or outdoor?
Indoor,
Okay.
yeah. You are forced to grow indoor. I wish I could grow in my mom's backyard, but it's not possible. It's too dangerous, and it's still more safer to grow indoor and to ensure you harvest. And I started to grow when I was 18. straight after, I went to India. So I was 20 years old. My first trip was going to India and with a plane and coming back overland.
Okay.
And yes, I traveled for a few months in India, and then I went into Pakistan, and there I started to find the really, really good hash, the plants also in the fields that were really nice. And I started to meet people that told me about land races, how you make hash and all this stuff. And especially travelers who were there for this kind of purpose in Pakistan. And I came back home, overland, Iran, Turkey, Greece, Italy and France, and came back to India, wanting to go back to Pakistani hash, but it was not possible because the politics have changed there, and they refused me to enter the country.
Okay, because I was wondering that before. It's like this region it's very hard to travel for a long time. Eh?
Pakistan, not really. Actually, first time I went was 2007, and it was really, really nice. Like a lot of tourists.
Okay.
I mean, not a lot of tourists like in India, but you had tourists. You had one guest house in Lahore, one guest house in Peshawar that was quite full with backpackers and stuff like that. And that was 2007. People were still going overland to Afghanistan. Travelers.
Wow. Yeah.
It was possible. I don't say it was easy. Pakistan is quite easy if you know how to travel. It's quite fine. It's very similar to India, and the culture is very similar to India. And but yeah, Afghanistan is another challenge. And already back in 2007, it was a challenge. But still, it was possible. For example, you could go from Peshawar to Kabul overland as a tourist, because you cross through some really dangerous places that are called the tribal areas. And since 2007, this corridor, this border crossing, is forbidden to foreigners.
Okay.
And before you needed a permit and all that, but now even with you cannot access to that. So basically, you cannot go overland from Pakistan to Afghanistan. You have to fly.
Yeah.
So it's another travel.
Yeah, because I would say that you like the overland, the way of traveling best, you know, to travel slowly, and you like use maybe public transport or bus or whatever
and crossing,
that there is.
Crossing borders is also something really interesting, very cultural. And the thing is that I don't travel for hash, especially. I'm not thinking, I'm thinking, okay, where can I go and smoke good? But I'm not going there just to smoke. This is just a side
This is an important distinction.
Yeah. Yes. My goal was is first to travel. When I went to Pakistan, I traveled all the Sufi shrines, for example, and stuff like that, which is not for hashish, but still culturally.
Yeah.
And the culture of hashish is still living through that kind of people also.
But is it like hard to find? Do you need to? Is it like very underground, or is it quite open, or
hash or?
The whole hash to find that culture.
Pakistan, yes. Pakistan, it's quite open. For example, I'm sure you go every Thursday in Lahore in one Sufi shrine, celebration is happening. This is for sure. Next Thursday, it's happening. Last Thursday, it happened probably. Maybe COVID has some restriction now, but yeah, this is happening, and it's open to people. If you know where to go, at what time to go, you will see crazy stuff happening. I was 20 years old, and it was like big party. You have the drummers in the middle with like big drum hanging on their shoulders and like banging drums for hours with crazy rhythm. And you have dancers in the middle spinning on themselves. So people maybe know about dervishes, but this is the Pakistani version that is much, much wilder than what you can see in Turkey. Yeah. So there is just, they are eating bang, which is cannabis powder mixed with water and stuff. So, and chewing tobacco also. And so their mouth is like full of stuff and dripping.
And their beards probably,
Beards, some are completely shaved.
Okay.
That's one of the characteristic of these people. Sometimes they are completely shaved, no beard, and other kind of attributes also that come back through to the 13th century. But and you go there, and around this crowd of drummers and dancers that is quite protected and selective. Is not everybody who can go up and dance. Is special people. And spinning on themselves like crazy, like getting into trance. And around that, you have a crowd of men smoking and completely out of their mind. I was 20 years old and sitting there in the crowd. And guys passed me an apple with like 5 joints into it and in your mouth. And I like to smoke, and so I can handle it. On top, it's with filters and cigarette filters and stuff, so you can get a good puff, and everybody, wow. So they liked it, so they sent me a lot of stuff, and that was really amazing. The same day, on Thursday, you have traditional music played in a mosque where you can access for free, and you're welcomed as a tourist, really. Mm-hmm. So this is accessible in Pakistan for sure.
Yeah. So would you say like that they get like a lot of tourists still, or do you felt very lonely?
In Pakistan, mm-hmm. Pakistan 2007 was amazing. A lot of tourists, a lot of people to meet and hang out. I came back 2010, I think. And then I was alone in the guest house.
Yeah.
Nobody was there. Mood had changed also. More tension. And it was the time actually where they found, like the US government had found Osama bin Laden. They knew that he was in Pakistan. Like I didn't know, nobody knew at that time, But after what happened, I know. And there was a lot of rumors in Pakistan saying that there are CIA agents all around the country. Like you could read the newspaper, and people would look at me like if I was CIA agent. And some people even thinking I was from Blackwater. I don't know if you know these mercenaries from the US contractor. And I was like 25, dreadlocks, blonde hair, dressed like a Pakistani. I even had a bicycle from India and stuff. And you Blackwater.
Wow.
And this was a bit different. I heard a bomb explode also and stuff like that in Peshawar. It was not the same thing at all.
Yeah.
But Ash was still there and still good.
Helped them through all that shit times.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about Afghanistan. You went there in 2018, I think.
2018, from October to December.
The harvest period.
Yes, I know what was the harvest time, so I say, okay, if I have to go there, this is the right time to see the most of what they are doing with plants.
How hard was it to get your visa and get permission to actually travel to the country?
So that's the first step. Okay, I want to go to Afghanistan. Yeah. How do you do?
For those listeners who are a bit adventurous.
Yes, you have formalities, and sometimes formalities. By experience, I know they can be a huge problem, and that can prevent you to go where you really want to go. So the first step was to take an appointment to the Afghan embassy in Paris to ask for a visa. And I didn't know if it was possible or what they would say.
And you would write like tourist?
Tourist visa. Purpose. For Afghanistan. And the woman there, she told me, Afghanistan is not like France.
No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, I say, I know, but I follow what's happening in Afghanistan since many years. So I said, but I want to go to the north. I know the north is safe. And she told me, no, the north is as dangerous as the south now, even more dangerous than Kandahar. And I was like a bit puzzled. And she said, if you get the visa, you stay in your hotel, you don't go out. And I said, yes,
of course. As tourists do.
I'll do that. And surprisingly, they gave me the visa for 1 month. I think I paid it 30 euros. And they gave me the visa. So my goal was also, I've been through shit in my travels. I've been at the wrong place at the wrong time, but also at the best place at the right place at the right time. But I didn't want to see any danger. I didn't want to see an explosion, and didn't want to, let
Get
alone
killed.
me getting killed. Also, I didn't want to see shit happening. I know the mood after a bomb explosion in a city is not the place you want to say, hello, I'm a tourist here. How are you? It's not good.
Bonjour.
It's not, bonjour. What's going on? No. That's not what you want to feel and what I want to experience at all. So I didn't want to go to Kabul because I know that's where the bad shit things happen.
You probably want to go to Mazar-i-Sharif.
Exactly. I know that the north was quite...
This might be a good moment. For people who don't know, Mazar-i-Sharif, it's in the north.
It's in the north.
It's like the hash capital, you could say.
That's one of the most famous, like if you think about Afghan hash, maybe your image come first is the golden stamped hash of Mazar-e-Sharif. That's why it stays in the imaginary, I think, of people. And it's in the north. And that's why my goal of traveling was to go just to Mazar-e-Sharif. And you can either fly there or try to go overland like what I did. Flying is maybe more smart, I would say, but quite expensive, and you cannot fly directly to Mazar-e-Sharif. You have to fly to Kabul, and it's $200 to fly inside Afghanistan each way. So for me that was too much money that I didn't want to spend. So I flew to Uzbekistan, which also was cheaper than flying to Afghanistan. I flew to Uzbekistan. I traveled for 1 month in Uzbekistan.
So maybe, because that's one of my sort of cannabis obsessions, where did cannabis first appear on the earth?
The plant?
Yeah, and I think it might be in that region of Uzbekistan.
People...
Central Asia.
Scientists put it in Qinghai Plateau near Tibet 28 million years ago, something like that. And maybe I'll get into that later if you want. This is more about the book. And
but Uzbekistan and what the hash culture, that it must be there, eh?
And the hash culture, before the Russian invaded Uzbekistan, it was there from Mazar-e-Sharif, Afghanistan, to Uzbekistan, Samarkand, Bukhara, up to Western China, northwestern China, where you have today the Uyghur and all these places were traditional hash-making regions. All that changed when politics has changed, and after the end of the British Empire also. All that changed. But Bukhara, Samarkand were very famous for hash, and I was quite looking forward, though I know that it was not easy. I've looked a bit, but I think I didn't take enough time to... and Uzbekistan is really, really heavily guarded, and narcotics are a big, big, big problem. I don't know if we can get into that later, but that's another story, another podcast, probably.
Yeah, probably. We'll stick to the hash. We'll stick to the plant.
Yes. So I went to Uzbekistan, traveled there, and because I had 3 months between my 2 flights, so I thought, okay, 2 months. If I can spend 2 months in Afghanistan, that's great. If something bad happened, I can go back to Uzbekistan and be safe, and no problem. The shit is gone. So I traveled for 1 month in Uzbekistan, and then I went from Uzbekistan directly to Mazar-e-Sharif. So basically I crossed the border with my visa and my passport. I went to the border of Uzbekistan and Afghanistan. This is in Termez, and it's a famous border where all the Russians escaped Afghanistan after the invasion. And you have a famous bridge, so you cross the bridge and stuff.
The Friendship Bridge, I think it's called.
Friendship Bridge, yeah. You have tons of video of Russian tanks crossing that bridge. It was quite crazy to cross, And
could you cross it like walking, or were you on a bus? Or
no walking, you have to walk. You can cross by car, I think it's possible. You have a lot of Russians that go from Russia, Uzbekistan, and sometimes they end up also in. But you have trucks, buses, stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. So then you were there.
So then I was
Afghanistan,
there, and completely different mood. All what you can imagine from Afghanistan just pop up right in front of you since you cross the border. That means blue burqas, lot of children in the street carrying like yellow oil can. So the scene is really different from what you can see in Uzbekistan, and I think what you can see anywhere in the world. So after the first, you cross the border, take a taxi, go to Mazar-e-Sharif, and my first question, like, where can I stay? Where can I sleep tonight? And so I didn't know if I had to go to the most expensive hotel to be accepted, or if I would be accepted in the cheap, nasty stuff. And so I tried few hotels, some refused, and one guy accepted me like for very cheap. Room was maybe €5. So I was happy to be able to stay in a cheap stuff and not have to go to a €50 night hotel. But where I could see most of the tourists would go when they would go to Mazar-e-Sharif. You could see on Instagram, few people went there. You could read some report on some forums. Where to stay and stuff like that, but no tourist when I arrived there for sure. And but the first hotel I was in had no showers, no bathroom, really rough, but it was in the middle of the center of a city.
That's what you want.
And that was really nice, yeah. And after I moved to another hotel where I could bargain the price, and it was comfortable to stay for a longer period. So that's all the technicalities of how to get there, how to stay, and then you need to know how to move around. And first you need to get hash, probably.
Yeah, you can't see the country without smoking first some nice hash.
Yes, and.
Okay.
Coming from Uzbekistan, I really wanted to smoke also. So I asked the guy from the hotel, and I traveled to Pakistan before, and I knew how to say it, but I don't know. I had so many things to think about, hotels and stuff. But the guy, I asked him if he had hashish. And he cannot understand hashish. He doesn't understand. And I was confused that I was saying, shit, yes, how does he say shit? And it didn't come to my mind to say charas. And then he told me, you want opium? You want what? Heroin? And then I say, no, this cannabis. And charas? And I say, yeah, charas. And then he went to get me some charas. And so that's the first confusion. Maybe we can. I'll do it myself to
go for it. Yeah, go. Yeah, please.
Explain myself. So you probably know that charas is the word used to qualify the cannabis resin from the Himalaya that you
hand rubbed
on the fresh plant. So that's what is circulating around, and that you can read articles about that online.
But it's not true.
But let's say it can be true. It depends what you mean by charas. If you mean that by charas, yes, that can be that. Things are what you meant to mean. But in Afghanistan, they use the term charas for sieved ash. And that's how they call their charas. And even the cannabis plant is called charas. They used to tell me like bote charas. So all is something derivative of charas. And they don't know about hashish. You cannot tell them I want some hashish.
They have no idea.
No idea. Because this is Arabic term hashish, and they are Persian language, and so they have not so much acquainted with hashish that we used to use without knowing maybe as an Arabic term.
But they must have like a word for the plant itself, like not in any way, just what's on the field.
Let's say it looked to me like being the charas is the hash, and the bote charas, so the hash plant, we can say, is the name of the plant.
Okay.
I'm sure they have tons of names. But I could not find the nuances. But what people always refer to was charas. So yeah, and the guy got me some charas quite fast. So the first time arrived, it was quite easy to get. And then going to the market, you could see my hotel guys, they were smoking on the roof and stuff like that.
What's always good is that you can follow your nose. Huh?
Yes.
Especially like in all the central parts of Old Town, and then you can get lucky that way.
For sure.
But I was wondering about, when you started traveling, did you have it in your mind, I might get a book out of this, or was that like something that you later
Not at all.
realized?
I never thought in my life I would write a book.
Okay. But you were taking pictures, of course.
I was taking pictures. So yeah, I've traveled before also sometime to get seeds and stuff like that. And I've always seen crazy stuff like fields and talking with farmers and stuff like that. And never it happened in my mind to think, okay, I'm going to take picture of that and publish it.
Yeah, but usually they don't really like you taking pictures.
Also, it's a barrier.
handicap, yeah.
It's a barrier, but also I discover that it's also an opener of the camera. It could be also quite, if you do it right, if you don't just take picture.
First ask.
Yes, first ask, first spend time, and then at the end you say, oh man, can I just take some pictures? This is what I do, and blah, blah, blah. And then it goes smooth. And I really spend a lot of time with people in Afghanistan when I was with the smokers. And when I used to travel, I like to hear the story of the grandpas most of the time.
Of course, yeah.
So without the picture and stuff, and then I get a bit more serious with photography, and I was doing some report of concerts and stuff like that. So I get a good camera, some good lenses. And I thought, okay, I want to travel again also. And where can I go? I've been there. The last place, I was waiting, that things get better in Afghanistan to be able to travel more safely. But this never happened in the last 10 years. I'm following what's going on. And it doesn't look like it was going to get better either, and it seems to be true.
But it was really like, indeed, your final destination, because you also told us before that you also traveled in Lebanon, for instance, so like all the traditional hash countries, and then Afghanistan. Yeah, it's a very important one, but it's a difficult one. Yeah.
It is difficult, but I knew, like most of the time, you hear very bad stuff about places and stuff, but the daily life goes on most of the time, and there is life, there is people living there, there is people moving around, there is wedding, there is funerals, and
this is has been my experience traveling as well, like in like more difficult countries. The stories you get before you arrive there, you can get really scared, thinking, "Oh my God, will we survive?" But being actually there, then you find out, usually it's okay. You can get unlucky, but you can get that in any country, even here in Barcelona, for instance.
Yeah. And then you have to follow your senses and know when you should leave and know when you should stay.
Okay, so how do we go from, I have myself some real nice hash to smoke, so charas, to now I want to meet the farmers and get to know,
Yeah, because, that's what I thought. To come back to the photography, I said, I have some nice cameras and stuff. I can travel, I can get there for the harvest. But originally, my first idea was really to go to Afghanistan and travel to Afghanistan, really to spend some time there. If I could get some hash picture or some fields, I would have been very happy. But my goal was to travel first. Then I get there and I saw plants in the streets. And the first guy who gave me the hash brought me to his family home, and we smoked chillum and stuff like that. And I said, this is really nice picture I'm taking also. And then I spent 2 months waiting for the harvest, the time they will make hash and stuff like that. And also trying to see as much as I could see from the country. So I find some taxi driver somewhere into hash, somewhere not into hash. They will drive me. So yeah, also how did I get access to this picture, these people? I contacted guy on Instagram that is called Baba879.
Yes,
So
yes.
I think everybody knows him.
Yeah, for sure.
So I contacted him before the trip, and he said, "Yeah, when you're there."
I think 99% of the listeners won't know who's Baba.
I think.
So yeah, you think we will just put a note in the, but maybe you can
We'll put him
explain
in
a
the show
little
notes.
bit. You can explain a little bit who he is. Okay.
Oh, yeah, he's an Afghan guy living in Mazar-e-Sharif. He's really into seeds, and also you can find his seeds with Afghan selection, I think. So he's going around quite a different part of Afghanistan also to collect seeds. And his Instagram account is just amazing. What he shows from the culture is really what I try to show in my book in a bit more professional way, maybe. But with him, I get access to a lot of people that welcome me really nicely also. And I had access to other places with other people also. But with him, I could see a lot of interesting things.
That's great.
And he knew the place, he knew the people, he knew all these guys in the picture. He was always welcomed there. And me, without speaking English, it was easier to communicate and to get to sit with them and spend time and all of this.
And smoke some hash.
And smoke some hash, yeah. But this, honestly, smoking hash was not difficult. Sometimes it was a bit difficult to get. Sometimes you could get a bit less quality. But he knew where to get it, always.
So did you have the idea that, this is of course a hash country, but are some people going for like flower to smoke buds, or is it really...
Nobody smokes weed.
Nobody?
No.
Still.
No. Even Pakistan, they used to tell me that if you smoke weed, it makes you crazy. In Afghanistan, not so much. We didn't say that, but nobody was smoking weed.
I've heard this before, and I wondered about CBD and about what happens, to the cannabinoids if you keep before pressing. Mm-hmm. If you keep it a bit longer, what will happen to it, and what's the result for the effect?
I did smoke because I cut a lot of stuff in the field to get the seeds, dry it in the room, hotel room and stuff. Honestly, I don't really like it. It was really bad to smoke. For my taste, I didn't like it. Also, I grow the seeds that I collected, and I don't really like to smoke it. But it produces...
It's really specific to making hash.
Yeah. It produces an amazing hash.
Wow.
It's about the resin quality, about the effect, the taste. It has something really, really special.
So do you think if you get these genetics and you use them also, that's relevant for the Netherlands, of course, for the weed experiment, but they have like 10 companies that can now be licensed growers for the experiment in Holland, and they should also make hash in Holland. Yeah. And then it would be interesting to see if they use these plants, or that it's just...
That's not the way. No,
the way that it would be growing there outdoors in huge fields is very different.
Yeah, and that's not the way the industry is going. I think talking here around with people at Cannabis, the sentence I hear the most is there is no market for dry sieve. That's what I hear all the time. So let's talk about traditional hash.
Yeah.
That's I think, even more niche than dry sieve, And traditional hash made with traditional seeds, that could be, for me, the ideal category in a cannabis cup. but that's really far from it. I think we are very far from that.
But you get this. They worry about it. These licensed producers in the Netherlands, whether they can sort of do right for the old traditional hash smokers in the Netherlands, or that they will still either go to a not experiment coffee shop to buy it, import.
Yeah, but what would be nice is to do nice traditional stuff for the Indian grower, for the Pakistani grower, even more for the Afghan growers.
Fair trade hash would be just perfect.
The way let's imagine that the world has legalized and it became a trading commodity internationally. What will happen to these guys in India, these guys in Afghanistan? And it's already starting. It's already starting, and for some places, it's already almost gone. So I don't know if licensed government can do something.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, the government can do something, but I don't believe the company will be looking for that. They look for profit, and there is no profit in keeping traditional variety.
You think so?
Yet, until
it's like maybe it's a niche market, but I think eventually land races, people start realizing how important it is to not have everything crossed with everything. Only super hybrids for everything.
But I'm sure many people buy land races to cross them with the latest Skittles or some stuff. That's what people do. And they don't realize that, they just homogenized the big biodiversity of the cannabis plant.
Mm-hmm. Do you see that as a real risk or as something inevitable? Or can it be stopped?
I don't know. I think it can be stopped. But this is all about government and policies and... they can do that for coffee, they can do that for cheese, wine, tea. They could do that for cannabis. But I think we are very far from this discourse today in the cannabis world, and even more in the cannabis regulations. Especially if I look at France, cannabis is still bad, and cannabis is drug. So let's think about traditional stuff people cannot follow.
Well, that's what this show is for, that we take that next step and do think about stuff like that. But because to me, it's quite obvious that's real heritage, if you have the land races from those traditional countries, not just in that region, but obviously in South America as well. Yeah, of course, it's super important that you guard these and make sure that they are available for everybody anytime. It's good, of course, anybody can crossbreed with them, but you shouldn't lose the original, so to speak. Yeah.
Are you now also looking for new countries to visit to make this kind of reportages?
So I never thought I would write a book. This is a lot of work.
Yeah, because
it's a whole new world and a whole new project that is much more difficult than taking the picture.
Of course. Yeah.
And so no, I don't really plan to release another book. But for sure, I plan to keep on traveling and going around other countries. Yeah.
When did you, by the way, because before we leave the book, or we go to other I say the subject. When did you knew like this? This is like a book worth photo collection.
Because I came back home after the trip, after some of the stories, and I saw my picture on my screen, and I say, "Wow, damn, this is quite nice, actually."
You surprised yourself.
Yeah, I've seen the picture on my phone, on my screen of the camera, But then seeing it big and seeing the whole series and the amount I had also, I thought, okay, this and the experience I got and realizing also that those pictures have never been shown since the past 40 years and that I get smiles, I get happy people and that can also break the cliché of what is Afghanistan, and so my idea,
not war, but
yeah,
culture.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so I tried to contact press outlets, magazines, and stuff, and nobody replied. And I was like, okay, nobody's interested in that, or did they see my email or whatever? And I say, okay, if nobody wants to publish, I'm going to publish it myself. And I had already this idea of explaining what is the influence of Afghanistan on the modern cannabis market, because I believe we have a lot of Afghan genetics in what we smoke today, in the modern hybrid. We know that extraction is a big thing, and I believe it all started somewhere around Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of link also in the popular culture of Afghan hash and stuff like that. So okay, the idea of the book came up, the picture to explain the text, and the text to explain the picture made sense. So I say, okay, nobody want to publish, I'm gonna do it myself because this has to be seen. And actually, when the book was released, I got maybe a bit more credibility, or the name circulated a bit. The picture circulated a bit more, and so I published in Cannabis Press in the US, in Vice, in Soft Secret, and the book is taking bit momentum little by little.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to release a new version of a book in the next couple of months. That will be 1,000 copies, 500 in English, 500 in French. The book will be 128 pages, and normally a reasonable price, and available to reseller, so it can be a bit distributed at a wider scale.
Yeah, because I remember first seeing the book actually at Mila when we did the podcast at her shop.
Of course, yeah.
And she was also
she has
super
been a really good
excited.
support.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, as you know, she knows the region very well, and she recognizes the love, for that part of the world. And
yes.
Like you say, it's so important that people get to see other sides of that country, and not have that one-dimensional negative image of a whole country and a whole people.
Yeah. And also using cannabis as a way to break barriers, like to show, okay, these people have different religion, different way of thinking, and etc. But when we get together and we try hash and we smoke together, we can relate, and we know what is good hash, and they know what is good hash. And on that we can really relate.
Of course, yeah, as anybody around the world can.
Yes.
There was one thing I thought was very... I never heard of it. Naisha, that you describe in the Vice article as well, a way of smoking.
Yeah, maybe I can tell you a bit more about that day and how I came in contact with this technique. And it was a day where I was with a taxi driver that didn't understand so much what I was doing. But then at the end, he got it, okay, you want to smoke, so he brought me to his friend. This was in the south of Balkh, an area where everybody told me don't go, but this guy was from the area. He told me, come with me, no problem, blah, blah, blah.
No problem.
And so one guy came up in the car, and he like hashish. So the guy could not speak English for sure. So we drove a bit and ended up into a kind of mountainous road, and the car was not going further, so we started to walk. I had no idea where I was, where we were going, what we were going to do, who were these
It's a bit
people.
like being at Spannabis.
Yeah. So, and I was hanging out, and the guy was like looking for some wood in this place, and we were waiting. He was looking for some wood, get some little wood, dug a little hole in the ground, protected from the wind and stuff, and start to put fire on wood. He had shown me his piece of hashish already and stuff. And then the fire consume, and you get the remaining burning embers. Yeah. And the guy just took, he had like a straw and a bottle of water, and he took water in his mouth. drop the piece of ash on the burning embers, and with a straw started to inhale the fumes from the hash on the burning embers. And then inhaling, and then spitting the water and exhaling the smoke.
As you write, he turned his mouth into a bong.
And
really.
I thought, damn, this guy turned the mouth into a bong, just in the middle, like that, on the ground. And in the middle of nowhere, sunset, little straw flying around, amazing moment.
Peak moments.
Yeah. So then, of course, I tried, and it was crazy because you have to keep the water in your mouth.
It will be hard.
But it fits. Strangely, when you get into that and you start to inhale, the water doesn't come out and stuff. It fits, and you get in your mouth. And then you have to spit it out, and then it's a bit complicated, and so you spit anyway. They also spit miserably. But then while you're holding it, with the water, it feels like the smoke is going to come out of your eyes, of your ears, and you get your eyes so red, and you expel all that shit. And it works when you cough, and they cough a lot. Every time they smoke, they cough. The shilom is a coughing session, and you have stuff to spit and stuff like that.
So do try this at home, people. Naisha, turn your mouth into a bong.
Honestly, I think you read online that you cannot smoke pure hash. That's a proof that you can.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it's quite healthy. If your wood is good quality, and this is probably this could have been done any time into the humanity, in the story of humanity.
Very long time.
This is before tobacco. This is before the pipes. This is before anything. And it's still happening, and they still do it. And I didn't saw it only once. After I saw it many times more in rural areas, they would have like a brick, a bit with a little hole, and they would put the fire from the barbecue, and bam, drop the piece of ash on it, and spit from the window.
Because in France, if you smoke hash, how do you do it? Do you mix with tobacco? Do you use a pipe
tobacco,
or chillum? Or?
Really bad tobacco, joint, paper.
The whole European way.
Yeah, and I used to put filters of cardboard that you get anywhere that are printed, that are plastified. That is really bad. Since some time I'm putting a real filter, like cigarette filter, inside my joint, and in the evening I have a better voice, and I can enjoy several joints in the day, like that.
Is Afghanistan hash like your all-time favorite hash, or not?
Why? I can say yes. But then you have a lot of imitation that are quite good. And especially in Morocco, they do really good Afghan style hash, and that you can get in France also, quite fair price, and quite good quality.
This is what I found out in France years ago already, that if you buy the hash on the street, quality is quite good.
Not
and
always.
The price is really a lot better than in the coffee shops.
For sure. But you usually get the dry barrette, which I don't really like. But
barrette? I don't know the term.
Yeah, like it's like
soap bar.
Yeah, like a soap bar. Yeah. And with the dry sieve, but I like more the olive that is more oily, and that looks really typical like Afghans. And Moroccan, they have a Pakistania that they do really good stuff with it, traditional sieve also. But yeah, hash is always nice. Good hash is always nice. And
I'd say.
I like Lebanese, like what I get in Lebanon was also really nice. But the taste of Afghan hash, this peppery taste, the really oily consistency, And the flower taste that was in Afghanistan, that was changing from each village I would go. The taste of hash was changing, the diversity of taste. And for me, it's not the first joint that doesn't make you a big effect, but makes you want to smoke another one and makes you want to smoke another one. And you get higher and higher without being disgusted. I'm a bit disgusted when I smoke a joint with rosin or stuff like that, but I can pack my joint of hash really strong and keep on enjoying it all day. Not just, I'm putting it down, this is too much. No, with Afghan hash is...
you can keep on going.
Yes, and get higher and higher with time. That's what I like.
Oh, great. I'd say that's a fitting...
I think it's really...
fitting end to this wonderful episode. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks to you.
All your wisdom and your experiences abroad. Yeah, people, we will for sure put the links in the show notes. You are also on Instagram as Lucas Wise Up.
There is my website where you can sign up. It's called wiseup-photo.com, where you can sign up to stay updated about the release of a book.
Fantastic.
Super cool. All right, thanks also for the sponsors for this episode again. Seed Stalkers, Dutch Passion, Super Sativa Seed Club and BioTabs. And all the listeners and Derek for this wonderful interview. And Lucas, thank you so much for coming over to this Airbnb.
Thanks to you.
And doing your story.
Sure.
And a lot of fun this Spannabis.
Have fun at this Spannabis.
Everybody have a very great time.